And it is 10 o'clock, so it's Lancaster Woodturners Weekly Coffee Hour number 184, I think. The thing I wanted to talk about today as a bit of an intro is mentoring. We've got a bunch of we keep getting members who are new woodturners. Our club is now set up well enough so we can begin to do something to help those guys out or those people out. And we've been talking about what? We have a meeting tonight to go through it further, and I wanted to raise it here and get the experience from people in other clubs. My own perspective is that I could do a small, coherent series of 4, 5, 6 classes on a one-on-one or 1-to-2 basis, but I wouldn't want to try it with a larger group. I do also recall a few years ago the club tried to set up a mentoring program. It didn't get anywhere because it got too complicated. Who could teach boring and who could teach segmenting and things like that. But it didn't grapple with the fundamental problem of people who join the club, want to learn turning, haven't bought a lathe yet. We've been helping them out informally, and that's what we use our Saturday morning, monthly Saturday morning for. But my sense of it is there are people would like more support than that. And I saw Vasco showing pictures of what looked like a class at the Makerspace. So I thought before we went around the screen a bit, I'd like to hear from people who have experienced mentoring in small groups and beginners. And what do you think is the best way to go about it? What have you learned?
I can tell you some things. Nittany Valley Woodturners, we have an agreement with a Makerspace, and we have to do 2 training sessions a month in order for them to store our lathes. So it's a reciprocating agreement. They store the lathes, we give them lessons. But what we've noticed is most of the classes we've have been pretty simple. We've done pen turning classes, we've done pizza cutters. We got a little ambitious. We did 3-legged stools, but we made the top and we just made them turn the 3 legs, fit them together. And we also had bowl classes, which were fairly successful. Everybody came away. All of our classes have been successful, and everybody walks away with a product when they go out of it. But during our last club meeting at the beginning of the month, people were complaining that we're not really showing them how to turn, we're just showing them how to make an object. And that's true, but then the argument is, well, maybe we just need to expose them to wood turning and they could find what they like and pursue that in their own way. Well, last night we had our first kind of involved turning, and we made boxes. And if I can share a screen here.
Let me ask you a couple questions while you're also. Are these like one class things, like 2 hours, 3 hours? And do you charge for them? And how many people? Is there a maximum number of people and like that?
Yeah, we have 6 lathes available. So our maximum class size is 6. And they're all the jet lathes, the 1221s. And what we do is with the Rivet, we have an agreement that they will advertise the class. We'll use their facilities, our lathes, our tools, our material. There is a charge for it that comes through the Rivet, and we get all the material costs reimbursed, and we share 40, 45, 55 with the tuition.
So what is the tuition?
Well, most of them, I think for this bowl class, I think the bowl class was a total of like $45 or $50. And the other classes are probably a little bit less than that. So, but
So show us the slides. What do you want to tell us about?
yeah, this is the class that we had last night, and I'll point to them. This person, this person, this person are trainers. He's learning to be a trainer, and we have 5 people in this class. Let's see, let me get rid of that. Here's another. Why can't I get it? Can you see that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, and here's another, or just a little more concentrated picture. There's two of the people. I like to see the chips flying. We like to take pictures of things. Here's a little more detailed, just turning the cylinder.
So you're not offering a sequence of classes, you're offering one class at a time, is that
Yeah,
right?
we offer one class at a time. We'll offer a pen turning, and that's the thing we're thinking about doing. Let's make a concentrated lesson plan so they can become really good trainers
Have
or
you
really
looked
good
at
turners.
have you looked at the resources on the AAW website for mentoring and teaching?
Yeah, we have. Yeah, here's one of the finished products. This is Alexa. This is only her second time turning.
That's nice.
And then here's the other people. You can see that what's in common with everybody is they all have smiles on their faces. That's kind of the best thing when it comes to doing the training.
That's for
The
sure.
one in the middle here, she had a big catch. So I says, well, let's just turn out the catch, and we were able to make this nice little shape. This one, the bottom part actually blew apart. We were able to glue it together and put a disc on the bottom, and so that worked out okay. And then here's the finished products for 4 or the 5 people.
Did the
So
instructor also make one? Did you make one if you were the instructor?
we had an instructor, Mike Lebo, and he might be on here. I don't know. He
He
can
is. I
speak.
saw him a little while ago.
Okay, he can speak to this too if he wants to. What we do is we have with every class we have an introductory uh, parts of the lathe class, no matter what level, and also a safety section. And then we get into the tools and we start to talk about how to turn the box. In this demonstration, Mike went through the entire process. And then we went back and we had 5 trainers and we had 5 people. So it's basically 5 students. So we basically had one trainer for every person. And it usually works out that way. We have a really loyal 5 or 6 people who come to every class and help out. So that's really helpful.
So you've got somebody right at their elbow.
Yes, all the time.
That's
Yes.
amazing. You know, are
How
you going
long is your class?
This one, it was scheduled for 2.5 hours, but it ended up going for almost 3.5 hours.
I
It
was
was
going
the
to
first
say,
time, so we weren't really sure how it would work, but we tried to keep it an hour and a half to 2 hours. And if it goes beyond that, we break it into the 2 sessions.
That's a nice product for a class that's short for beginners.
Yeah, it was a lot to do because we had new tools that we were introducing to them. Every time we try to introduce a tool, so that they learn how to do that. We used Box Scraper was the new tool for this one.
do you ever do a class like in a little uh, let's talk about wood grain and orientation and wood movement and have a little wood theory class, or is that too abstract?
No, we try to talk about that in our club meetings. We try to schedule people who come from, of course, we have Penn State University as a resource, and we have some foresters and things that are club members. So we're pretty lucky that way. We have some resources to bring in to talk about things like that.
What set of tools? I assume you have a set of tools for every lathe, and what tools are you introducing them to?
Yeah, we always start out with the roughing gouge. That's kind of our mainstay because we can do pens with that. We can do, pizza cutters. We can do just about anything with it. And then we introduce the parting tool, uh, spindle gouge, and last night was the bottom bowl scraper.
Ken, do you get into,
address the difference between classroom teaching and mentorship? They're not the same.
No, they're not the same. And we do have a mentor program, and basically it's just somebody coming to our mentor leader and say, I want to learn how to do this. And he looks around at our club members and gives them a text message and said, so and so wants to learn how to use a bowl gouge. Do you think you could do some mentoring on them? And we usually set it up that way. It's pretty informal, and I think it's something we have to look at a little bit closer.
Do they go to the club space to do that, or does they go to each other's houses?
No, so far it's been the mentor has gone to the student's house. And that's because you can use their tools, their setup, so they can relate. If they come into a place where it has a real fancy lathe and real fancy tools and real fancy chucks, they may not be able to relate as much. So we try to send the mentor to the but with the if we send them to the maker space, we would have to schedule a time and do a lot of fussing around that way.
What about the insurance issues if they go to each other's house? Is there any insurance issue that you know of?
Not that I know of. We looked into a little bit, and I contacted the AAW insurance company, and they didn't seem, as long as it's a sponsored event, there isn't too much issue.
I would disagree with that statement depending on which insurance you have. If you have the AAW insurance, you're completely uncovered in a person's house. If you have the private pay insurance, you are covered in those situations.
What do you mean the private pay insurance? What is that?
Through AAW, there are two different plans you can go with, the standard AAW plan, and then they also have a private pay, which I think is done under Hartford, which is a little more costly but covers some other things. And there are clear differences with respect to at anybody's house. And the standard AAW insurance absolutely prohibits coverage in a house.
Do you know
Yeah,
how
there's
much?
also homeowners insurance and things covers things. I don't know all the specifics about the insurance, quite honestly.
Anybody else on this with information or comment or questions?
I can take just a moment and tell you what we do at our club. We have a monthly hands-on workshop. I facilitate and I'm assisted by Michael Gibson. It runs 4 hours. We charge $5 to cover the materials. We have a simple project that they can complete successfully in 4 hours. But we invite anybody new, and what we do with them is they get very close detailed supervision on basically doing beads and coves. We start them with a 1.5 inch, 10-inch long blank of 2x4, and they round it with a roughing gouge. They make bead cuts with a skew, and then they start working on beads and coves.
Now, how do you do that? One-on-one or small group?
Well,
how do you make it work?
that we normally would not have more than 1 or 2 people that are brand new, and we would have them side by side, and then either me or my co-facilitator Michael would kind of supervise them closely.
Okay.
It's been very successful in bringing in new members. We probably, over the last few years, we've had several people that would show up for the first time to a workshop before they ever come to a club meeting, and then it's like giving them a puppy and trying to take it back in a few weeks. They're hooked.
Huh.
We do the same over here, as Mike does. The beginners are literally from roughing gouge, skew, spindle gouges, doing beads and coves, so that because over here we believe in that if you can get tool control, then tool control will allow you to do any of the other things, bowl turning, spindle turning, whatever. But tool control to us is one of the major things to learn.
Well, how do you teach it?
Well, the demonstrator or the mentor, such as John, a friend of mine, myself, or Alan, another friend, we take the lathe, we show them what to do, and then we stand 1-to-1 or 2-to-1, and they take over and we guide them through those processes.
So what you're doing, roughing the cylinder, beads and coves and parting, those kind of basic moves?
That's right, yeah, just so that they got tool control, so they get to know how to handle the tools. To go straight into a box from not turning anything is a no-no. I don't know if Mike agrees with that.
No, I agree. You start them on a project, you're gonna have a failure.
Yeah,
They're gonna get very frustrated. And even with beads and coves, they tend to get frustrated. I know I had a fellow, we sold 6 our old belt change lathes and replaced them with some variable speed Rycons. And I sold these 6 lathes. And we had one fellow that came in for the first time that bought one of the lathes, and he got extremely frustrated working on the beads and coves. And he said, I got to step outside to clear my head. And I asked him, I said, do you play a musical instrument? And he said, well, yes, I played a trumpet. And I said, you got to relate this to that. If you want music, you can turn on a radio, but if you want to play an instrument, you got to practice. And you didn't start playing music when you picked up the instrument, and all of a sudden the light snapped on and he was fine.
yeah, it clicks in, doesn't it?
If you're talking about a mentoring program, I kind of agree with that. But the kind of classes we have, people want instant gratification. And if we do the small projects, they seem to get that. With this box class, we actually required that they would have a prior turning class somewhere along the line. So all the people who are in that class, in the bowl class too, we do the same thing. You have to have some familiarity with some of the tools anyway.
Yeah, one of my biggest things that I did was I taught at Chichester College night school. I had 8 Axminster variable speed lathes and 8 pupils, and they were of different standards for the course. And we used to just make a project, but those beginners were taught the same way as I said, beads and coves. But the others, we went through projects showing them how to make 3-legged stools, egg cups, involuted turning, and whatever. But
How long? What
So
was
when
the
you
extent
mentor-
of that course? How long was that course?
that was a 10-week course of 2.5 hours a week,
Okay.
1 night a week.
That's part of the problem. We're already doing, we have 5 people who are doing 2-hour sessions every month. And to try to get mentoring in there too, it becomes difficult because you have a resource problem. There aren't enough people to do all the mentoring, and you can't keep going back to those people and back to those people. You're going to wear them out, and they're just going to stop doing it altogether.
I wish you're right. The 3 of us do it every week. It's the same Saturday morning as the Lancaster Woodturners, which is next Saturday, and the 3 mentors there are constantly there every month, unless we go on holiday.
John Wilson had his hand up. What do you got, John? What do you want to say?
Yeah, I think I'm coming back to Bruce's point. And so my background is that Dad was a shop teacher. So we learned to turn very young. But mentorship and teaching are 2 different things, point blank. The suggestion I might make if you were to ask, or as you've asked, assign some tasks for people to complete prior, right? Reading, watching videos, a component on safety, here's the physics, and then just fundamentals back to Don's point, and then work them on spindles. Give them one small project on spindles under mentorship. And the last one, the last component, and I'll be quiet, is this was Dad's piece. As much time as you're going to allocate, double it. Because people don't get the tool control that Don talks about, the body positioning and all that. So whatever time that you're allocating, you want to do an hour long or 2 hour long, double it, because they're not going to get it and they need to screw it up, and that's okay. Screwing up is part of the learning process, but those are the suggestions I would make.
Yeah, that's funny you say that, because a lot of it is we teach them the dance, the woodturners dance, using your body. And we can show them that, we can make fun of it, make little jokes about it while we're showing them. And they start to do it, but within a minute or 2, it's gone. So you got to keep going back to it. Training adults and teaching children and adults have different ways of training too. Well, what you have to do with adults, you have to show them what you want to do. You have to or tell them what we're gonna do, then you have to show them what to do, then you let them do it, and then you come back and you have to give a recap. This is what we just did. You need those kind of steps. So if you give the overview, give the demo, let them do it, and then come back and give them the overview again, that really helps.
That's just like our old rule in writing about this stuff, Tell them what you're gonna tell them what you, and then tell them what you told them.
Yeah, that's exactly where I got it from.
The
Anybody
one
else?
suggestion,
Go ahead.
apologies for interrupting, but the one other suggestion I just thought about, it was very important for my learning and many others that I've run into. Whoever's demoing, demo top shelf. Don't demo, well, this is sort of how you do it. Demo the best you can, because it gives the student the ability to aim for something. And maybe they're never going to get there, but they're seeing what's possible. And the reality to it is, surprise, fear, doubt, and hesitation are the 4 cornerstones of progress in certain topics moving forward from a teaching and action aspect. But if they don't see what's possible, they're not going to attempt. And if the trainer or the teacher is that good that they can do that, then they're only going to grow. But the other challenge that this creates is patience with the teacher. And I'm not a very good teacher. I'm not patient. Dad was. There are many others that are far more patient. So whomever is accepting said task, it needs to be the right instructor that's patient, that's safety conscious. I'll just stop there.
I saw Ernie Conover on here a little while ago. I think he's clicked off. I was gonna ask him the same question. Oh, here, anybody else with a comment on this, or should we move on?
I think one of the most interesting parts of this is expectations. And you have a student that comes in and they think in an hour, and Jonathan touched on it a bit, that they're going to come out of Turner in the end of an hour, and it just doesn't happen that way. I had the advantage of really learning wood turning by being mentored. Our club president at the time, actually when I was a club in Florida, had 6 lathes in his garage, and every Wednesday night he opened it up and you came with a project. And I think what made it for me was the spending an hour or two with someone who knows what they're doing, going home and practicing for a week before you come back for your next shot at it. And somehow, and I know we have club members that have the expectations that we're going to teach them wood turning, but if they don't go back and practice it and work and learn each skill, it just never happens and they get frustrated and walk away. But somewheres that's what has to be instilled, that this is not just what you get in this hour, 2 hour, 3 hours. It's what you take home and practice and really learn to be muscle memory. And I think that's critical. But I also do think there is a huge difference between teaching beginners in a classroom and doing mentorship, which is really working on one skill, if you will, with someone who's particularly good with that skill, if you can. So, and I think they're very different things. And I encourage very beginners, go get a lesson or have whatever the mechanism is, where you're formally taught usually the first 3 tools, the roughing gouge, the spindle gouge, and the parting tool, and then go on from there. But a huge piece of this is practice.
Very good comment. Thank
Hey,
you.
John, one of the things that I noticed was when people didn't have to pay for it, they weren't as committed. Even if it's only $5, it
Oh, I
seems like there
agree.
needs to be some kind of commitment by the person.
They need some skin in the game, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Ray, what do you have? What do you want to say about this?
Thanks, John. One of the things, in the club, we've tried this many times. One of the things that I've seen mentors and teachers, and there is a difference. But what we do is we say, okay, we're going to do this, and people come in, and they're not challenged. So we talk about, they come in and we taught them the rough and gouge, but there's no challenge to that, and they don't go back home and work on it. So when you go in here and say, okay, we're going to do a spindle, and it has to be this size. Well, if you can't do it that size, the project's not going to work. So we end up with, okay, something come off the lathe, but that's not where you end up as a wood turner. Without the skill, making something that's close. And that's one of the things that I know you've heard me say many times, is that what people do is they step up to the lathe with no picture of where they want to end up. And when you ask them, basically, where'd your skill come from? Well, I did this on my own, or I took a class. And when somebody comes in and says, I want to learn, and it's project oriented and they don't have the skill, the project isn't what the project started out to be. So we're afraid sometimes that, oh, we're going to lose them. We don't say, turn a spindle that's, 1.5 inches, and let's put a tenon on the end that's 1 inch. And that's a challenge. It's not a big challenge for us, but it's a big challenge for them because it takes a while to do that. So then you say, okay, go home and do that when you come back next time. And you have a program where they work on it and they come back and you say, we're going to move forward when you can meet these objectives. And we find out that the people that want to move forward, they'll do it. The people don't want to and just want instant gratification. This is not the place for them, not and be a good turner. So the program has to be developed. And sometimes you look at it and say, well, that's all you've done. That's really not the answer. It's not all we've done. Is, when you say to somebody, give me a spindle that's 1.25 inches, how many people can say, okay, bang, there it is. And a good turner can do it, but you don't get to the end if you can't do those, even the simple basics, and we don't build on the basics.
So in a mentor program, should you be focusing on just one skill? Or should you say, okay, our end goal is to turn a bowl and teach all the, aspects of it, or turn a 3-legged stool and turn all the aspects? What is a mentoring? Is one skill at a time, or how does that work?
What's your end goal? And what's the level? If you're taking somebody that's a prior turner, if I come to you and say, gee, I'd like to learn this, you say, what's your experience? I said, I've done this, and I can tell you what the experience is. And you say, okay, let's see what you can do with a little simple project. And you start out with everybody kind of on the same page and then go into something like turning a bowl or whatever. But they're doing it. And that's why we talk about, doing a dance, and everybody laughed at that because we do it. The reason that they don't keep doing that is we're able to handle after time 10, 15 different inputs, riding a bevel, doing this, doing that, and all of it comes natural. I'm a new turner and you say to me, use your tool like this, but remember to do this. After 2 or 3 things, I'm lost. Something's got to quit. So what I end up doing is and you look at them, their knuckles are white from gripping a tool too tight. They're sweating, they're nervous, they're not comfortable. So they're being tasked at a level that they're not comfortable. That's why we lose some of them. It's not easy. So we look at it, oh gosh, you can't do that with that rough and gouge. They're terrified. So, you got to get over that hump, and that hump is sometimes let's just turn something, let's not make it a project, as the project may be the spindle, some simple cuts, some practice cuts. When you step up to the lathe and say, do this 20 times, we hate that. They hate it worse because they think, well, I've done the cut twice, so I'm good. How many times have we said to somebody, don't wait till the last cut in the bowl to do a finish cut. Practice your cuts all the way while you're making the bowl, and they're good. Now, we don't enforce that. We just, they're turning, we come back, we check on them, they're getting catches, they're doing these things. And then we say, well, look what you ended up with. That is cool today, but we laugh about the things we did. We look at them from years ago and go, oh my God, is that what I did? And so, we need to get them through that. We went through it, but we need to get them through, with some good instruction. And good instruction may be simple stuff.
Have you guys had any that have gone through these sessions and developed to be a very good turner who could be an advocate for others that are considering it?
You're asking me? A couple of things that happen with us is when we do the classes. Now, this is not the mentoring, this is the classes. We're just trying to get some excitement about wood turning, hoping we can turn some people onto it and actually have them to join the club. And our club attendance has got up. It's in the 60s now, which for us is, we were running in the 40s before we were in the rivet. So we do have an increase of club membership. And hopefully that will get them, we just stir that interest. And once you stir an interest, you know, it's addicting. You all know how it is. Once it gets in your blood, you just got to keep doing it. And so we just get the sawdust flying, the chips flying, and pretty much let's go. We do have one instructor now, Jan. She started taking classes and she started attending the club, and she's now an instructor. So she's been a major success story for us. So we're real proud of her, and you know, we're happy with her being a trainer.
Great.
Great discussion. Thank you very much, everyone, for contributing to that. Let's look at some work now. I should just say Chalikian put in the chat that he thinks the best book is Raffin Turning Wood, and I kind of agree with that.
Can I add something to that?
Yeah.
This is John. I've been a shop teacher for 8 years, and many years ago, and I've taught tandem canoeing for over 20 years. And I've gone through a lot of these things that people are talking about. And I think one of the best things that the clubs could do is to buy a bunch of the Raffin's books, because he covers everything in there, every aspect of turning, buying, you know, all the parts of the lathe and everything else. And I think it'd be a great thing for the instructors as well as the students to have this book, because I've taught a lot of different things, and when I have a book that's really such a quality book like Raffin's, it gives you a whole format and a way of thinking and presenting the information. And then for the students, they can go back and they can read, you know, hopefully they would read and use. I mean, I keep going back and referring to his book.
I think we have a couple of copies of that in the club library, which is at the space in New Holland. So I'm going to get on that and see what I can dig up. I'm sure I have at least one of them around here, maybe two. So
also in his book, that's really good for teaching, is he has exercises that you could present at the, you know, you do your introduction, you demonstrate, and then you have these things, these exercises are really good. And then if you want to do a project, you can also incorporate that into the exercise or as an extension of it.
Yeah.
John, I'm surprised nobody mentioned the word YouTube in this training and mentoring situation. I think today that is the books that we used to do. So one of the ways you could do with new people is say, well, watch this. Now, obviously you're going to say, well, they're not all good, but at least it's going to give them exposure. And if we point them to the appropriate people. The other night, I happened to catch, what's his name? You just mentioned him. Raffin, doing skew. And the skew is one thing that they sit on my shelf and I just don't pull them down. And I'm getting braver in doing that. So, you know, I learned from him. I learned about the catch, and so it was a good experience. But now I need to go and put the tool to the wood.
Which video?
I think one comment I'd like to make, and I think we've all got to recognize it, and it's especially true of adults. Everyone has a different learning style, and I love books. I love Richard Raffin's books, and mine are dog-eared. A lot of people won't ever pick up a book. They can't learn from a book. They might be dyslexic. But one of the things that I scratch my head on when I do this monthly hands-on 4 hours, we'll have a very simple project. I'll have a picture of it in the newsletter. I'll have a picture on our Facebook. I'll bring samples, but I'll also have a link to a video where I did that project for folks that are coming. Consistently, if I have 8 people in a class, only 4 of them have taken a moment to watch a 20-minute video. Just to kind of give them oriented to the project, kind of lay the tracks for what we're going to do. Only half of them will do that. So you got to recognize one size does not fit all.
Well, that's for sure. Yeah. Okay, thank you all again very much. This was a great discussion. It'll be a good video that we can refer to as well. Like I say, we're gonna have a meeting about this tonight.
Wood shop. Thank God for wood.